parts to buy. And out comes the 2.8 that now has 310,000 miles on it. She's still going strong. Well, there it is, my next project. One of the first projects I started on here, but it's been taking me this long to acquire everything I need for it. My S10, I named Project Blackie. Been sitting up here for a while. Need to get it running so I can take it in the shop and start working on it. I was walking around looking at it. It's kind of funny up here. Got a flat tire there. Flat tire here. Another flat tire there. So I need to pump the air up, or pump the tires up with air. Unload some of the junk that's inside it. It's all crap in the back of here. Still got the numbers on the back from when I raced it. That was last year. Clean out all this stuff because this box is going to go bye-bye. Anyways, let's look at it. Got that nice rust on it. I got another box for it. Bunch of parts for it. Just need to do it. And when I get started here real shortly, just get your oohs and your ahs in, because it's going to be transformed into a lean, mean drag racing machine. Alright, got the S10 in the shop here, and the first thing I need to do is lift it up, get the box ready to go bye-bye. Take the back bumper off too, and then we're going to install the rear end. Still a bunch of junk in the back I need to get out of there, but there's a little less than there was before. Anyways, what I'm going to get started doing here is get the bumper ready to come off, get the box ready to unbolt. We'll go set the box off somewhere in the topper and get the rear end taken out. Install the 8.5 10 bolt. Up in there, you get this bumper off. I'm not going to be running a bumper on this. I got a rear balance panel, or tail panel, whatever you want to call it, put on it. I don't plan on pulling anything with it. Rid of the spare out of here too. Get the rear end out of here, 7.5. You can see it's a 7.5, not an 8.5. Hopefully the springs are in good condition. I have new polyurethane bushings for it. Got some slapper bars to put on it. Of course, comes the new bushings up there. Get rid of the gas tank too. Getting a fuel cell. What else? I suppose exhaust, but it ain't that far. I kind of at least want to make it somewhat movable with a V6 in it still, if I need to move it. Plan is on the front end, it's going to need a lot of work up there, so probably take the whole front clip off of it. But it still runs and drives. The reason I quit driving it is it doesn't really look so bad today, but it's the fuel lines are rotten really bad. It was leaking fuel last time I drove it. I don't know if you can see up in there, but here's the fuel lines and they are rotten. The front one's rotted out before. It's been a while ago, and I kind of spliced in there and put a clamp on some baling wire around it, and it's held for a couple years. It's time to retire it from the daily grind. It's turned into a racing truck. Yeah, this whole front clip's gonna have to come off so I can install the engine. It looks like I need a rocker panel too. A little rusty. I have to buy some of those. I do have cab corners. I'm gonna do the cab corners, and I'll do the rocker panels too, I guess. a little soft there. If that's all I gotta do is cab corners and rockers, that ain't too bad. I'll get this bumper loose and get the box loose and see if I can find somebody to help me get this stuff off. Now I got the bumper loose. It's just kind of hanging there with a couple bolts on each side holding it. Bunch of rust on the dirt on the ground. I don't know if I want to try taking that off up this high. I might let it down a little bit. I've seen some stuff on the frame up in there I don't like. I'll show that once I get the bumper off here. The bumper is off. What I didn't like about up here in the frame, a little rusty up in there. That kind of sucks. I'm going to have to fix that. But when you live in the Midwest and you like to put salt all over everything on the roads, that's what happens. This side is actually, I think, worse than the other side. That's pretty bad. It's kind of rotten up in there. A lot rustier than I thought it was, but I haven't really looked underneath this thing in a while. If worst comes to worst, I'll just have to go to the junkyard and whack some ends of the frames off and stick those in there. More work. Yeah, I'll get the box off, maybe we can inspect it a little more. Get this spare tire out here too. All the bolts out of the box. Now I need to get this spare tire out of here and see if I can find someone or some people to help trip over the bumper. To get the bed off, then we can start tackling the rear end. You have to address that because that's not good. I have to go to the junkyard and, like I said, whack a frame off or do something. That don't look very safe to me. I take this mud flap off too. When they sit on the ground, ain't bending it up. So I plan on putting those back on. Get this out of here too. Start my parts pile outside. Guess there's one more thing I forgot. Take this bed off. I have to undo that. Otherwise the box won't come off. Got 2 bolts there. I thought there might have been 3. Who knows? Anyways, I'm surprised all those bolts come out that easy, but if I remember right, I put that box on this pickup. I anti-seized the bolts when I put them in. You can see some anti-seize on them still. So that stuff definitely works. We got the box off, the topper off. If we get a little better look at the frame, it's pretty rusty back here. Getting rust holes in the frame there. Really rusty back in there. So I got thinking maybe I could just go to the junkyard and whack that off there and maybe take those out of a different frame and weld them back in here. But pretty much come to the decision that the frame is too rotten back here. There's even a hole over here. So what I decided to do, which I wasn't going to do in the first place, I'm going to go to the junkyard. I'm going to cut some rails, find one that's not as rotten as this, which I'm sure there's some there that aren't. I'm going to cut the frame up here, remove these rails, get the ones from the junkyard and slide them in at least 2 inches on each side so I can get some more tire clearance back here, get some wider tires on it. The only thing about that, it screws up the pads on the rear end. I guess I'll have to cut the pads off the 8.5 I got and slide them in. And find some wheels to kind of reverse in. I've also started to remove the engine, radiator and the condenser out. Let me turn on a little light here and see a little better. Move the AC. I think I'll put that on my other S10 because I know everything on here worked. That's going bye-bye. I was just going to put just a heater style cover on there. I like to leave the heater in it. We have more cold weather here than warm weather to worry about it, but it still runs the way it is in here, so it's movable. More parts on the floor. This is AC pump. And what else? Yeah, these rockers are pretty rotten down here. And trying to find a place that has those is difficult. A lot of places to sell it, but they're all back ordered. But hopefully it's not that rusty, man. Just get some sheet metal and put it in the brake and bend it. Just cover the outside. You can lift it up and poke around on it. But hopefully it's still solid up to there. And just bend a piece of metal and go from there down to the lip underneath. I think all that's pretty solid. Anyways, that's as far as I've gotten at the moment. Well, I raised the S10 up on the hoist. I thought I'd check out the rockers and the cab corners. I was kind of peeling around on them. I do have cab corners, but they like go clear up to there. I don't really think I need that. Might be able to just go ahead and make a patch around that. Maybe. And also, this side was kind of thin feeling up here. I could poke it with my finger, so I was kind of ripping on it with some channel locks. It feels pretty solid back here. So maybe all I need to do is put a patch in here. And on the driver's side, that's what it looks like. There's a lot of crud up in there. But I think this side's pretty solid from there back. So maybe I can just stick a patch along here. I don't know how far forward. It looks like it might be a little rusty right there. Maybe just stick a piece along there and down along here. I'm going to take the death wheel and I'm going to trim that out and get a better look up in there. Alright, got that cut out. Just looking up in there. It's a little crusty up in there, but I think the rocker itself's pretty solid. Just starting to rust through right there. There's a little bit of rust up in there. For the most part, I think I might be able to get away with just putting the patch there. Also inside there's all this crud in there, like chunks of rusted metal. All kinds of it in there. So at least, at a minimum, that all needs to be gotten rid of. Needs to come out of there. Get the air blower in there and blow it out. And somewhere here's that piece that come out of there. And if you look at it, you can see it rotted from the inside out, not the outside in. Mostly because they don't really stick no coating or paint on some of that stuff inside. It's just bare metal. Back here is pretty solid too. Need to cut it up a little higher right there. I think if I go up there and across, this will be good back here. It's pretty solid back here too, and there is some crud back in there, but not a whole lot. I got the driver's side trimmed out for the most part. I'm sure it needs some more trimming. It's fairly solid down in here and around there too. So I think I might be able to just put a patch in there. And the rocker on the driver's side that I cut out, it actually looks pretty decent back inside there. Worst part's right through here. There's some crud up in there too. This might need to be cut out more down in there. You can see there's more crud up in there. Really need to take the fenders off and see what it looks like up in there, because these are known for rotting out back in behind there too. Looking underneath the floorboard don't look that bad. There's a little bit of rust here and there. Seen a lot worse. Other than that, probably the next thing I'll do is take the front clip off. Get the fenders, hood, bumper and grill and all that good stuff off. I still need to go to the junkyard. See if I can find another pickup that's got a good frame on it. Ain't so rotten. I'm gonna whack her off like right in here. We're gonna move that in a couple inches, get a little more room with the rear, blah blah blah, and get a little more room for the rear tires. Even that up in there is pretty rusty. No, it's just too rusty to be doing that, using it. That side's rotten. Pretty scaly up in there, but that's what happens when you live in the Midwest. Thing I was going to mention that I always thought was funny, I remember looking at Craigslist once. Somebody had some car in there, I don't remember what it was, Camaro or Chevelle or something. All bragging up, no rust, no rust. Well, all they did was went around and cut all the spots out where the rust was and didn't do nothing. So that was their idea, no rust. Alright, we got an epic milestone coming up here on the S10 Project Blackie. Just about ready to turn 310,000 miles on my unreliable piece of shit Chevy that everybody says are not reliable. And I think this thing would go 500,000 miles, but we gotta have some fun with her before she turns 500,000. Got a few more parts to buy. And out comes the 2.8 that now has 310,000 miles on it. She's still going strong. She did her job. One of the most reliable vehicles I've ever owned. That part is waiting on some parts. Might be $350 before I get them. Hopefully everything goes good. Now we're at the 310.02. Don't mind that service engine light, it's always on.